Okay, so I really hate the fact that I can't edit videos. So this is the second half of doing beets. I am had a whole bunch of pick of beets, and I did an inventory of the beets that I have processed already, and I have about 35 jars of pickled beets already. So these ones are going to be regular beets. I'm just going to process them as regular eating beets, and yeah. Maybe this summer I will figure out how to edit videos. Then you don't have to get two parts to a video. Because I accidentally hit the wrong button. Whoop, there went again. These are nice tender beets. They were picked this morning. So they were easy to peel, easy to slice. They're not old tired beets that sometimes you get. They actually don't have that root that runs down the center of them occasionally, or woody spots in them. There's just, these beets don't seem to have that at all, which is really nice. Fill the jars just to the bottom of this little neck on them. They've got a little neck on them, and I typically, that's as full as I typically feed them. Now I do have some other jars that I've processed the other day, and they'll go in yesterday, and they will go into the canner today with the other ones, and that's these ones. This is suitable for 2 people. There's usually just Mel and I, and so this one little jar is good for 1 meal for us. But he requested that I do some pint jars, and so there's a bit more beets, so he can have leftover beets. Right, so I'll bring you back when I'm going to process, and let you see that process. So what I am doing now is, okay, all the beets are in jars, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1/4 teaspoon of salt in the little jars, and I'm going to put just a heaping I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of salt into the pint jars. So, you know, Mal likes salty, and if they're too salty, oh, he likes them. But if they're not salty enough, then he just adds salt to it. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to put some salt in them. And I use regular canning salt. I don't use iodized salt in the canning, so. And I got water on the stove boiling to put into the jars. Here, one in here, it's got too much beet in it. Let's see if we can get it into a jar that needs a bit more. There's one. There's one that needs a bit more beet. Alright. So my pot of water is boiling, so I am going to proceed to fill up these jars with boiling water. As soon as I find my measuring cup. Oh, there it is. Now I have my lids on the stove heating. I do heat the lids, but I don't boil the lids. I bring them to just less than a boil, and then I turn them off. It seems to, I haven't had any canning failures with lids. There's been a lot of controversy with lids about jars coming unsealed and or not sealing or buckling, or there's been a lot of questions about how shit's been going on. I seem to have something in the middle of this. What's going on? All right. So I don't but I haven't had any, and I check my jars regularly. I make sure that everything's got now. A lot of the stuff that I read on Facebook and stuff, they talk about finger tight or wiping jars with vinegar. I am not a believer of that. I'm a believer of wiping my jars with just a cloth, a clean cloth. Wipe off any, because if you get any vegetables or any of your vegetables stuck on the edge of the jar, or you've got a blemish on the top of the jar, it tends to not allow them to seal. So, yeah. Because these little jars are diced beets. They, I'm going to have to take a fork in, a knife in, slide a knife in and get rid of the air bubbles in them. Whoop. All right. It doesn't hurt if the bubbles are in there, because it will, at least I've never just found that it did any damage or anything when the bubbles were in there. So if you forget, it's not a big freak. There'll just be a little more air at the top of your jar, or your vegetables will float if there's extra air in there. And then you go back and you fill up the jars once the air is taken out of them. Now when you're filling your jars, you always make sure that nothing is in the jar that's above the rim. If there's anything that touches the rim of the jar that you're canning, like touches the lid, that will prevent the lid from sealing. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to wash all these jars down. Just wipe off the top rim and make sure my levels are okay. And by wiping it off, I'm making sure that there's no beet or any salt. Is another thing. Make sure there's nothing sitting on this rim right here. So I'll bring you back when that's all done. When you're wiping the rims off on your jars, you're checking at the same time to make sure there's no nicks or chips or anything like that, because you'll be able to feel it as soon as if it's a little rougher there. Maybe there's an old part of the seal left from the last jar, because these are all reusable. Maybe there's a little bit of that left on it, or maybe somewhere down the line it got chipped, or you've put something in it that's stuck on it, and you just need to make sure that the rim of these jars are smooth. There's nothing rough on them or anything, because that will prevent sealing. All right, so now I'm coming back down to putting on lids and rings. Okay, so for doing the lids, because they're hot, I usually will fish them out of the boiling water, or close to boiling water, with a fork. Put it on the jar and hand tighten. So it's not squeezed down tight, it's just firm. And that's where you need it. Now, I don't store my jars with the rings on them, because with my water, there's it's like a calcium deposit. And if I leave my rings on, my rings get stuck on it. So, next shot is when these are all got the rings on them. Drag out the pressure cooker and set them all up into the pressure cooker. Now this is the pressure cooker that I'm going to use, and I have, I think I have 5 of them now. They're all Americans, and they're older because they have this flip switch on them, and I like that versus the jiggle on the top, but I have to say I've never used the jiggle on the top. So this is the one that I'm using, and I'm using it because it's tall, and I can get 2 rows of pints and the 1 cup jars. So this, always make sure you have something in the bottom of your cooker so that the jars are not directly on the heat. And what I've done then is I taken and put enough water on to cover that plate, plus half an inch. So let's see, about that much over top of it, and that prevents it from warping, and it generates the steam. It's going to need the steam in order to build the pressure. So now I'm going to fill up the pressure cooker. On the bottom I'm going to put the pints. Now this cooker allows me to put, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 pints on the bottom. And then I'm going to put this next plate on. And I'm going to put some more in on top. And I'm hoping it's going to be big enough that it's going to allow me to fit all the canning into the cooker at one time. Well, I got 4 left, so let's go get the next plate. Now, you're not ever supposed to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to lay them down because I don't want to do another load of beets. I'm finished doing beets. So, now, right here is a little indent in the pressure cooker. Now there is an arrow at the top that lines up with it. So there's the arrow right here, and it's going to line up with that. Now one of the reasons I really like these pressure cookers, this All-American, is because I'm a little bit of a chicken. I don't want my stuff exploding. So it's got these hand cranks on the top. And there's no seals involved in it. It's just metal on metal and bring it to temperature. Now, I've got the cooker on. It's going to build to pressure. It's going to heat until this freely puts out steam. And there will be a lot of steam that's going to come out of this little tit at the top. And then I'm going to flip that down and allow this gauge to come to 10 pounds pressure. So I'll bring you back when it's ready for that part. Okay, so now it is venting, and that's the steam that's coming out of this little doodad there. And according to my All-American canning book, it says to vent for 2-3 minutes and then close this little trap down, and now this will start to build pressure, and it'll build to 10 pounds pressure. So it takes approximately 5 minutes for this canner to come up to 10 pounds pressure. And then I have to start reducing the heat to keep it at 10 pounds. When you go too high and then you have to bring it back down again, and then it gets too low, what happens is you end up with what's called siphoning. And that too high, too low will siphon the liquid out of the jars, because the jars are not actually sealed when you put them in there. The lids are on firm, but they're not tight. I can tighten them tighter, but I just do them a hand firm, like give it a good twist to them. And according to my book on this All-American, I'm going to process them for 30 minutes at 10 pounds pressure. So as you can see, we're almost at 10 pounds now. Well, let's see if we can get, yeah, we're almost at 10 pounds now. And then I start reducing the heat. And I just keep reducing it to keep it at the 10 pounds. So you sort of have to babysit it. It's not like you can drop the temperature and walk away and come back in 20 minutes and it's miraculously still at 10 degrees. It doesn't work quite that way. So for me, when I am waiting for this to come to pressure and the steam to come out of this little doodad here and everything, I'm cleaning up the mess that I create when I do this, because it is quite a messy job. And trust me, with beets, you want to make sure you do dark clothes and a dark cloth, or one that doesn't matter, because beets will stain. Okay, so I'm at 10 pounds pressure now, so I'm going to start reducing down my temperature just a little bit at a time, just enough to keep it at that. So I'll bring you back in 30 minutes when it's time to take them out. I sort of thought that while we were waiting for the 30 minutes to be up, I'd show you what I actually have processed already. I process probably 400 to 500 jars a year. Almost everything we eat, I process it. So down on the floor there was a pile of pickled beets that I forgot I had. And in the first row, as you can see, I have pickled beets, bread and butter, sliced dill pickles, and then I have jams and cherries, some spaghetti sauce, some soup. There's more soup upstairs. These are potatoes and carrots. This is all fruit. And then up here, I have corn and applesauce, potatoes, canned potatoes, carrots. This is regular beets that I've already got canned, and this is green beans. And here I have some mixed vegetables, wax beans. There's some potato carrot mixture. I have some cherries that I did this year. I have applesauce and pumpkin filling. And down here I have more pumpkin filling. Pumpkin filling actually is on the bottom. And some soup. I have some pea soup, some turkey soup, more vegetables, more jams. So like I said, I do about 500 jars a year, and most of them are pints. And then in this box is all jams. I did them late last fall. So it's strawberry and mixed fruits and raspberry, all kinds of stuff in there. Okay, 30 minutes is up, so now I'm just going to turn the canner off and let it drop to the pressure gauge drop to 0 right here. It will take probably half an hour for that to happen. So one of the things that I do while I'm waiting for the pressure cooker to come to temperature is I lay out a towel on my counter. I fold it in half so it's a double thickness, and I track down my canning tongs so that when it gets to 0 I can open it up and pick them out. Now, I don't know how other people do it, but I always put my hot jars on towels, and that seems to cushion the bottom of it. It was something that my mother did and my grandmother did, and a lot of people did. So some people, I guess, maybe put them on racks. I just put them on a double thickness towel for the cushion and let them cool then. Okay, so it's taken 25 minutes to get to 0, and I'm just gonna lift this little doodad here and make sure there's no steam to come out of it, and there's none. And now I get to open the can. Well, the jars on the top, it appears most of them don't like the laying on their side to can because the liquid has leaked out of it. So, lesson learned, don't do that again. Because out of the 5 jars, how many jars do I have with liquid in them? 3 have liquid and 2 have 0 liquid in them, so I'll use those first. And that liquid leaking has made a little bit of a mess on the top of my jars that are sitting in here. Now, if you've got liquid on the top of your jars and you want to get rid of some of it, always tip the jars away from you. Never tip them towards you. Occasionally, I've never had it happen, but I've heard of it happening, where a jar will explode. And personally, that's not my idea of fun. And if it's going to explode, I want it to explode away from me. Now, before I put these jars away tomorrow, because you let them cool overnight, sitting on the counter at room, so they come to room temperature, and they'll seal. Now, I don't know if you could hear it or not, but I just had one of them seal now. One of the first ones that I took out. So this is the jars that I laid down, and then these jars with all the beet juice on top of it are ones I just took off that first rack. And there's the other jars. Okay, so all the jars are out of the canner now. And sometime over the next 12 hours, they will seal. You'll hear them popping, or I'll hear them popping. Yeah. And that's it for canning beets. I hope you've enjoyed it. And everybody has their own way of doing stuff. Don't be afraid to do some research on it. I have the tried and true method, using the recipes mostly from the All-American Canning book, which the book I've got is a very old book. My jars are old, my process is old, and I do a lot of canning every year. So this is it for the beets. Next I have to do is the beet tops. They're right there. I have to cut all the red stems off them, wilt out down the leaf, throw it in jars, and can them also. So if you like it, like and subscribe. If you don't, as usual, oh well. So hope you have an afternoon that's relaxing and a lot of fun. And the whole process, I started this at 12 o'clock and it is now 2 minutes to 4. So have an awesome day. Thanks. Bye. Oh, there's one I just sealed.